Hey kiddos, it's Miss Richardson here. I hope everyone's having a great week. Thank you for watching my video. I know you're going to love it. It's so awesome. So we are going to talk about percents today. So this is our standard that we're covering today. Here are our learning targets. All right, so there's a couple of different ways how to find the percent of a number. In math, when you see the word of, that means that you're going to multiply. So in the first example, right here is telling you to find 46% of 120. Well, if you see a problem like this, it's just telling you that you're going to multiply. But before you can multiply, you must turn all percents into decimals. Okay, so how do we turn percents into decimals? We move that decimal that's sitting to the right of the 6 up or to the left 2 spaces. So 46% becomes 0.46. Once you have it in decimal form, since you're finding 46% of 120, you're going to multiply. So 120 times 0.46. Make sure that decimal gets put back in the right spot, 2 numbers behind it, and that final answer is 55.2. 55.2. So that is the quickest, easiest way to find percent of a number. So there's a video if you want to watch that. It's 8.5 minutes long. So if you need to, come back to the slide deck and find that video and watch it. So there it is again. And now I want you guys to pause the video. I want you to turn all of these percents into decimals. And I want you to multiply and figure out what the answer of each of these problems is. And then come back and watch the video and make sure you are correct. All right, so on the first one, you should have multiplied 50 times 0.2. And I don't mind if you guys are using a calculator for this. So 50 times 0.2 is going to be 10. So 20% of 50 is 10. The next one, you should have multiplied 0.4 times 25. So 0.4 times 25 is also 10. The next one, you should have changed 2% into 0.02 times 150. And that should be 30, I do believe. Let me double check it. 0.02 times 150 is, no, it's not 30, it's just 3. I'm glad I checked it with my calculator. Because 2 is a very small percent, isn't it? So what about 15%? So we're going to change that to 0.15 times 20. 0.15 times 20 is 3. That one is 3. All right, what about this one? What'd you guys, when you moved your decimal 2 places to the left, what'd you get? It should be 0.004 times 300. What a tiny, tiny little percent that is. 0.004 times 300 is just 1.2, which makes sense because the percentage is so small. And then half of 48, we don't even need a calculator, do we? Half of 48 is 24. So I hope you guys got all of those right. All right, now the other type of, or the other way I want you guys to practice finding percent is by setting up what we call this percent proportion. So right here on the left, a percent proportion, and you're going to use this many times in your future. You're always going to put the part over the whole. And then anytime you have a percent, you always, always, always put it over 100 because that's what percent means. It means a number compared to 100. And that's what it says right here. Percent means out of 100. So even on that last screen, the last slide, when we have this tiny little percent, that 0.4 would still go over 100. Okay, anytime you see a percent sign, you go put it over 100. Now, when you do the percent proportion, you do not turn your percents into decimals, okay? So the first way we did them, did the problems, you had to turn those percents into decimals. When you use the percent proportion, you do not do that. All right, so look at the example. Once again, we're finding, well, we're doing 46%. So every time you see a percent, 100% of the time it goes over 100. And then 120 is our whole. And we're trying to figure out what the part is, okay? So if you don't know a number in math, you use a variable. A lot of times you'll see people or textbooks or examples use an X. So this is what your problem looks like. And the way you solve this is by using cross products. You're always going to cross multiply, and then you're going to divide what is attached to the variable. So 100, whoops, just dropped my calculator. All right, so 120 times 46 is 5,520 equals, and now 100 times x, you just squish those things together and you get 100x. Now, whatever is attached to the variable, that's what you divide by. So we are going to divide by 100, both sides of the equal sign by 100. 100 divided by 100 is 1, and 1 times x is x. And then with our calculator, we're going to divide 5520 by 100, and we get 55.2. And that's our answer. So 46% of 120 is 55.2. Now, I realize that's a lot more steps than what we did the first time. However, it's going to come in very useful for us later on in this lesson. So I want you guys to set up percent proportions. I don't want you to do it because we're just practicing a way to do future problems. I want you guys to set up a percent proportion for each one of these, and I want you to solve them that way. Please pause the video, give it a try, come back and check your answers. All right, so on the first one, our percent goes over 100, and then our 40 is our whole, and we're trying to figure out the part. What part of 40 is 20%? All right, so when we cross multiply, we get 100x. 100 times x is 100x, and then we get 120 times 40 is 4,800. And then we divide by whatever is attached to the variable. So what is attached to that variable is a 100. So our final answer should be 48. That's not right. I think I multiplied wrong. Let's see. Oh, I did. 40 times 20 is 800. I'm sorry, guys. I actually multiplied 40 by 120 or something. I don't know what I did. But I knew my answer could not be right when I saw it. All right, so it's actually 800 divided by 100, which is just 8. That makes more sense. So my answer has to be smaller than my original number. All right, so did you guys do the rest of them by setting up your proportions? I hope you did. All right, so on the next one, you would have multiplied 65 times 40 and got 2,600. And then 100 times x is 100x. And we would divide by 100, we should get 26. You're dividing both sides of the equal sign by 100, and you should get 26. Okay? All right, what about 2% of 325? And then that number divided by 100 is 6.5. The next one, you should multiply 75 times 15 and divide that by 100. And it should be 11.25. The next one, we're going to do 0.4 times 150 and divide that by 100. 0.6 is the final answer. And then half of 36 would be 18. All right, guys. Make sure you're getting the right answer. And me too. Make sure I'm getting the right answer. All right. So this guy, Math Antics, is going to start showing you some word problems using the percent proportion, which is what we're about to go into right now. So if you need to come back and watch this 8.5-minute video, then please do so. All right. And here's another one. Still talking about the percent proportion. So you have a couple of different resources to use, okay, if you don't understand. So let's look at this first word problem right here, guys. It says 6 students in Miss Cochran's class played ratio games on Thursday. This represents 24% of her total class. How many students are in the whole class? So that's when this percent proportion is so important to know because and also not only that you know it, but also where you're going to plug in each of the numbers. So automatically, every single time you see that percent symbol, that number is the one that goes over 100. And then the other number you got to figure out, is that the part or is that number the whole? So if you read this carefully, it says 6 students in her class play this game. The question is, how many total students are in the class? So the whole class, we don't know how many are in the whole class. That's why our variable goes on the bottom. But we do know that part of the class is 6. Okay. All right. So then we're going to do our cross products again. So 6 times 100 is 600. 24 times x is 24x. And then we always divide by what is attached to the variable. So 24 is attached to the variable. That's what we're going to divide both sides by. 24 divided by 24 is 1, and 1 times x is x. And what is 600 divided by 24? And the answer is 25. So 25 is the total number of students in Miss Cochran's class. All right, so here are 4 problems, and I want you to try to set them up on your own. You got to read them carefully. If you need help, you can watch my video, but do as many of them as you can by yourself. All right, so let's get started on the first one. It says the middle school drama club sold 50 tickets to its spring play. 50 was 25% of the total tickets they hoped to sell. How many total tickets did they hope to sell? Well, we don't know the total number of tickets, right? So our total is missing. We have a part. This is just a part of how many they wanted to sell. And once again, that percent, every time you see a percent, automatically that tells you that number goes over 100. So we're going to do our cross products. So 25 times x is 25x. 100 times 50 would be what? 5,000. And then you always divide by what is attached to the variable. So 5,000 divided by 25 is 200. They hoped to sell a total of 200 tickets. All right. A baseball team won 30 games. They won 30 games and they lost 45. So they lost 45. Keep this together. There were no ties. So they either won or lost every game. There's no ties. What percent of the games played did the team win? All right. So we want to know, out of the total number of games that were played, what percent did they win? Okay, so we have a 30 and a 45. Are either one of those numbers attached to a percentage sign? No. So that's what we have to figure out this time. What percents always go over 100. All right, so we want to know how many they won. Well, here they won 30 games out of how many total? Well, 45 is not their total, is it? If they won 30 and lost 45, how many games did they play? They played 75. So that 45 is actually not going in our percent proportion, but we needed that number to figure out the total number of games. All right, so we're going to cross multiply. 75 times x is 75x. 30 times 100 is 3,000. And now we divide by what's attached to the variable. So what is 3,000 divided by 75? 3,000 divided by 75 is 40. So they won 40%, because that's the question, what percent? And the answer is 40%. You got to read them carefully. That one's a little tricky. The next one, Gordon and Marissa were driving from Montreal to Washington, D.C. They had driven 388 kilometers and figured they had covered about 40% of the total distance they would travel. Okay, so what do we know this time? I'm going to put it up here. So do we see a percent symbol? Yes, we do. So we automatically know that's the number that goes over 100. So the other thing we have to figure out is 388 the total number of kilometers or part? It is the part of the trip, right? This is part of the trip. They want to figure out what the total distance is. So 388 goes over our total, which we do not know. So we use an X to hold that spot. So we're going to cross multiply. We're going to get 38800. And then we're going to get 40 times X is 40X. And now we divide by what is attached to the variable. All right, what is 38,800? Whoops. Divided by 40. The answer is 970. 970 kilometers is their total trip. All right, what about the next one? In the first 6 months of the year, Bill made $1,000 in the first 6 months of the year. The second 6 months of the year, he made $3,000. What percent of this total did he earn? What percent of this total did he earn the first half of the year? So how much did he make in total? How much did he make in total? This time again, we're finding percent. So that's our X. We don't know the percent, but we know percents go over 100. All right. So if he made $1,000 in the first 6 months and $3,000 in the second 6 months, how much did he make in total? $4,000. And the question is, what percent of the total did he earn the first half of the year? Well, the first half of the year, he made $1,000. So we're going to cross multiply. 4,000 times X is 4,000X. And 1,000 times 100, that would give me 5 zeros. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, which is 100,000. And then we divide both sides by 4,000. 1, 2, 3, 4. So 100,000 divided by 4,000 is 25. 25 what? 25%. 25%. All right, not too bad, right? Not too bad. All right, so I want you guys to see if you can answer these questions. I want you to set up your proportions. And I want you to figure out the answers to these. And then I have the answers here on the screen. And the reason I'm doing that is so after you do the problems, check your answers. And if your answer's wrong, I want you to reread the problem and figure out, either I use the wrong number or I put one of the numbers in the wrong spot. Okay. So send me a message and let me know how you guys did on the last 4 problems. Say either, I missed one the first time, but I understood what I did wrong, or I missed all of them. I have no idea what's going on. I need to come when you have office hours, I'll come and talk to you about it. Or I got them all right. This is so easy. Why don't you give us a hard question? Okay. All right, guys. Well, I hope you have a great day, and I will check on you guys later. Bye bye.